So how was your day, the day you allowed yourself to go through the service? Mine was pretty great because Robin was playing. My friends are here, my loved ones. And I thank all of you for trusting me and going along with a little bit of play, reflection, exploration, and hopefully some learning and growth along the way. So as we went through the service, were you able to call to mind a typical day in your life? The ups and downs that happen, the ways you try to bring yourself back to wholeness? Did it leave you peaceful, challenged, energized, drained, somewhere in between, a mix of things? Hope you're able to get a sense of a typical day, whether right now or from a different day, to use as background as you hear about my journey. A day in the life, reflections on being mindful and spiritual. That's what I'm here to talk about. A big topic. I'm not an expert on being mindful and spiritual. I'm a student, an apprentice, practicing in my own life ways of being mindful and spiritual. Not being an expert, I humbly share my own journey in hopes it will be helpful to you. My prayer and hope is that you may get something from the telling, whether simply by witnessing to gaining something new that may help you on your journey. Perhaps it would be helpful to say a little more about what it means to me to be mindful and spiritual. I share these thoughts with you not to try to give a full definition or the only definition. I share my thoughts to help give insight into my perspective. First, let us look at being spiritual. What does it mean to be spiritual? I have been a student and a facilitator for the Awaken to Ego Discover Your Spirit program here at Fountain Street Church. Early in the program, participants are asked, what do you think of when you think of a spiritual person? Often heard are things like loving, peaceful, happy, joyful, humble, compassionate, kind, gentle, deep trust in inner knowledge, aware of the self and what the self is a part of, open-hearted, and the list goes on. That list has always inspired me. Next, participants can see that these are all attainable qualities. Then participants learn we are all spiritual. We were born that way. All those qualities I just listed are who we are naturally. We don't have to seek to be spiritual. We can allow ourselves to be spiritual, to find our way back to it. We can find what keeps us from being in that space and clear those obstacles out of the way. Thinking of myself as naturally a spiritual being with those qualities helps me stay grounded in that and return to being spiritual when I'm not feeling it. So what does being mindful mean? To me, it means being alert, being aware, being conscious, being fully in the moment, be here now. It is a tool that can bring us back to wholeness, the divine, that which is holy, Yahweh, Allah, God. Being mindful can help us clear out the blockages that help keep us from being spiritual. For me to be mindful and spiritual day to day is a journey, an ongoing process, a practice. I am very much a student in that process and very committed to my growth in that practice. A key part in my journey into being mindful and spiritual is getting to know myself better, getting to know who I am, getting to know my truth. And again, this is definitely an ongoing process. Part of that process was having a great counselor and guide to help me get in touch with the emotions that would come up for me when I didn't know myself, learning to identify those emotions and then learning to speak about them. That awareness of those emotions and later learning what contributed to them helps keep me from being overtaken by them. The counseling and an Awaken to Ego program have helped me more and more over time, learning to be the observer of my emotions rather than being my emotions and being swept up in them. Then learning to speak my truth about them and to speak to my needs has helped me further free me from emotional reactivity. I discovered how I would use emotional reactivity to try to get my needs met in an unhealthy way, and I could then turn more to speaking my truth, to getting my needs met in a healthy way. Also, when emotional reactivity does catch up with me, I can go back to what I said earlier about being spiritual. I can remind myself that what is coming out of the emotional reactivity is not who I am. I can remember that I am a spiritual being and begin moving back to those qualities connected to being spiritual. Another part of knowing myself is continuing to get a better sense of what I'm called to do, to hearing the inner wisdom and divine guidance that is offered to me. Mindfulness helps me discern what I'm being called to in any individual moment, as well as in the longer term. That knowledge helps me be able to be more spiritual day to day. Learning to trust myself, believe it or not, has been another part of the journey. I have been encouraged to trust that I can handle whatever happens in any moment, that I already have inside me what I need, and boy, that was a struggle to accept that one. To me, it relates to being born spiritual. It helps me relax about challenges on the horizon. I still prepare and address those challenges, but I feel less worry. Although some days like this, it still catches me a little bit. I'm more able to take events one step at a time, and only as they come. This helps keep worry from consuming me before I'm even in the event, and helps keep me grounded during the event, knowing I am able, knowing I am capable. Learning to trust myself has been very liberating. My journey has also led me to exploring different wisdom and faith traditions. Through this exploring, I find myself able to approach some of what I already know from a different angle, giving me a deeper understanding, a broader perspective. It also has given me a chance to gain new truths and insights. Some of what I have learned, I will share with specific examples in a moment. Finally, this exploring helps me feel more connected to the greater human family that we are all part of. There is something comforting in that for me to feel a part of something larger and greater than ourselves. Next, I have learned the importance of bringing myself as fully as I can to as many moments as I can. It is a way of being mindful. What I've learned from different wisdom and faith traditions supports me in that. Meditations like the ones from Carolyn Mace that we sampled in part today help me get grounded and connected to the present moment. And today's blessing that will come later, written by our own Reverend Jason Hubbard, helps me accept more of what comes in any given moment. I often reflect on a prayer from Judaism, the Shehekianu. One translation of it is, "Blessed are you, our God, creator of time and space, who has supported us, protected us, and brought us to this moment." This prayer helps me to have gratitude for where I am right now and stay more fully in the moment. When I learned that Muslims pray 5 times a day, I took it a way of reminding ourselves of coming back to the moment and returning to our focus of being spiritual and open to divine guidance. For me, being fully in the moment involves simple things like eating a meal. This wasn't always the case, but I often now start with a prayer or some words of thanks to all those who have helped me bring the meal to me. And I remind myself to fully attend to the meal. I try to take one bite at a time. I'm definitely not a college student anymore, if you're hearing me say that. And fully experience that bite. I sometimes, not always, but I sometimes set my utensils down rather than preparing the next mouthful. After each bite, I try to pay attention to whether my body is telling me I need more, or if I should stop, or if I need something else. And I try to bring that same attention to other experiences. Now, sometimes staying in a moment can involve some pretty difficult stuff, or at least things we're used to thinking of that way. But those are the times that we can really learn and grow. And knowing that it is an opportunity to learn and grow can ease the pain we may feel in any moment. Fully experiencing those moments is what Carol Koister shared with us so movingly last week. Thank you, Carol. A wise friend of mine speaks about how he really welcomes those moments, because they are his teachers. I have found it helps to surrender to those moments, to accept what they bring. I pay attention to my breath and I tune into my body. I notice what comes up. And by staying in what might sometimes feel like a fire is how I often gain insight and growth. Be gentle. Choose happiness. That is the essence I take from the quote in the order of service today. Be gentle. Choose happiness.